Hello, BookTube. I figured since I was right here, since I had a tiny bit of mail to open, I might as well do that right here on the couch. So let's go through these. We've got 3 packages to do. No law that says we have to have 20 packages to do the mail. Lord knows I can talk, no matter how long we have and how many packages. So what is this first one? Oh my, okay. I requested this. This is right up my alley. This is work of translation, I believe. Let's see here. Is this translated? Has to be from... Yes, this is translated from the Swedish by Marlene Delargy. And this is Theodore Kalafatides. This is The Siege of Troy. Thin little thing. Let me see here. How are we going to do this? Ever since I was in high school, writes Theodore Kalafatides, the Iliad. Ooh. Oh, it's just a scratch of a needle on it. In the pub sheet, Iliad is misspelled. Has touched my imagination and aroused my admiration. In my eyes, it is the strongest anti-war poem ever written. Hoping that this famously long and difficult text could move more readers with its timeless message and captivating story, Kalafatides was inspired to write a novel, The Siege of Troy, a perceptive retelling of the Iliad. Oh, misspelled again. God, your spell check had to be fighting you the whole time you were writing that. It's not misspelled on the book, is it? No. Okay, good. Thank God. Is in which a young Greek teacher draws on the enduring power of myth to help her students cope with the terrors of Nazi occupation. The year is 1945. Bombs fall all over Nazi-occupied Greek village, and a teacher takes her students to a nearby cave for shelter. There she begins to tell them the story of another war, recounting day by day the long siege of Troy by the Greeks. She tells of the human realities of this ancient battle and how the heroes of myth suffer from thirst, heat, homesickness, and heartbreak. And how the opponents meet, army against army, man against man. Okay. All right. The most spellbound listener to this tale of Troy is our 15-year-old narrator, a Greek student completely beguiled by his teacher and slowly awakening to new feelings for his oldest friend and playmate, all while under the threat from the Allies' airstrikes from above and the summary executions of suspected Greek resistance fighters by the Germans. Okay, so it's not quite a retelling of the Iliad. It's a recasting, and it's a to the extent that it's a retelling of the Iliad, it's a retelling of the Iliad as the Iliad. So a retelling of the epic poem rather than the story. It's going to be fascinating to me anyway, of course. This comes out in September in a paperback original. So this will be, you'll be able to just go and buy this for, what, $18, something like that? No, $15. If your bookstore stocks other press paperbacks. I don't know if they do or not. It's of natural interest to me because I read the Iliad every year in June, first of all. And it was one of my earliest introductions to reading at all and to books. And also, I myself have written a retelling of the Trojan War, my novel Troy War, which is downright strange. It's a downright strange and horrifyingly violent book. It was enormous fun to write. It's a little bit weird to reread. So this feels like, right, this is my kind of ground. That's fantastic. And it was translated from the Swedish, but if my ear is detecting, my ear detects that this is a Greek name. So what is the author? The author has, Kalafatides has published more than 40 works of fiction, non-fiction, and poetry that have been translated around the world. Oh, he was born in Greece in 1938, so he is, for once, not a 20-something hipster douche from Brooklyn. He immigrated in 1964 to Sweden and began his literary career. Okay, all right, fantastic. So that's not a bad start. Vaguely Homer pastiche. So let's see what's next here. Oh, okay. All right, we're 2 for 2. This next book is World War II history. So that's great. I can't get enough of it. It's 2019 is cropping up an extra large bunch of these books. That not so much big, sweeping narrative 1-volume or 2-volume histories of World War II as very specific, almost monographic studies of certain aspects of World War II, and this is the same. This is by Saul David and is called The Force. To get used to the ergonomics here of this new setup, just in case I ever spend time out here. Today's U.S. Special Forces trace their lineage to the first Special Service Force, all in capitals, the first Special Service Force. Known simply as the Force, and to the Germans as the Black Devils, they were an elite commando unit in World War II made up of Americans and Canadians, to date the only unified military unit between the two countries. In modern times. I'm sure that is meant to say in modern times. Their background varied from lumberjacks to forest rangers, hunters, woodsmen, game wardens, prospectors, and explorers, but their fortitude to overcome the high call of any mission on any terrain united them, and their intensive training for winter warfare behind enemy lines set a standard that modern special forces continue to strive to live up to. The Force, First Special Service Force. And in this book, Saul David details the formation of this group and the incredible yet little-known true story of a single battalion's assault on the peak of a crucial Nazi stronghold in southern Italy. The importance of this vital yet treacherous mission was to find a way through the German defense system known as the Winter Line. Oh boy! All right, so this is history. This is Saul David is the author of Victoria's Wars. Victoria's Wars was really good. Oh, okay, fantastic. He was the author of Victoria's Wars. Okay, great. Well, he's written a ton of other books, but that's all I need to know. That one was tremendous. And he lives in Bath, where he's a professor of military history at the University of Buckingham. Okay, fantastic. All right, this also comes out in September, so I don't have to worry about it immediately, but it's right up my alley, so that's great. All right, so we've got Trojan War pastiche fiction and World War II history. So what's this last one going to be? A biography? Maybe? A book about dogs? Maybe? Let's take a look and see. Or are we going to go off reservation and have this be a book that doesn't interest Steve at all? Let's see. Huh, okay. No, this is not... Oh, publishers, jeez. Who on earth thought it was a good idea to stick the pub sheet inside the book? That is just about as bad an idea. Yeah, and of course the pub sheet is damaged because it was stuck inside the book. Why on earth anybody would think that's a good idea to do, I don't know. But anyway, we can read the part of it that survived. This is by Eric Weitz, and it is A World Divided, the global study for struggle for human rights in the age of nation-states. Once dominated by vast empires, the world is now divided into close to 200 independent countries, with laws and constitutions proclaiming human rights, a transformation that suggests that nations and human rights inevitably develop together. But the reality is far more problematic, as the author shows in this compelling global history of the fate of human rights in a world of nation-states. Through the vivid histories drawn from virtually every continent, A World Divided describes how, since the 18th century, nationalists have struggled to establish their own states that grant human rights to some people. At the same time, they have excluded others through forced assimilation, ethnic cleansing, or even genocide. A World Divided also explains the origin of many of today's crises, from the existence of more than 65 million refugees and migrants worldwide to the growth of right-wing nationalism. The book argues that the only continual advance of international human rights will move us beyond the quandary of a world divided between those who have rights and those who don't. Oh, okay, all right. The book argues that only the continual advance of international human rights will move us beyond the quandary of a world divided between those who have rights and those who don't. Well, do tell. So only the continual advance of human rights will move us to a world where everyone has human rights. Say what? Yes, I would assume. But that's interesting. I wonder how... See, I always have to resist this. This, did I mention when this comes out? This also comes out in September. These are 3 September books. I always have to resist the urge when I get a book like this to just dive right in and start examining it right in front of camera when I've got you there, and I don't want to do that. That would be very rude. But I'm curious to know how the author is going to do this. He has an epigraph from Heinrich Heine that is untranslated. It is in the German. That's pretty hoity-toity. Then, let's see, starts out with an overview of 18th century empires, moves on to Greece, America and its Indian removals, Brazil, Americans and Jews, Namibia, that's going to be interesting, Korea, the Soviet Union, Palestine and Israel, of course you have to have a chapter on that, Rwanda and Burundi, oh my, and then a concluding chapter on nation states in the 21st century and beyond. This could be fascinating. This could be absolutely fascinating. All right, well, okay. So the last of our books, also a September book, is not a Steve book, and yet it's a perfect example of how I get Steve books in the first place, because some author will get me interested in the subject, and then all of a sudden that is a Steve subject. So we have A World Divided by Eric Weitz. We have The Force, another keyhole World War II book about the origin of the Special Forces. And an assault on a castle. It sounds like a story out of fiction, but I'm right there for it. And The Siege of Troy by Theodore Kalifatides, which is sort of a meta retelling of Homer's Iliad, of the Trojan War in general. So, okay, all right, not bad. Two nonfiction and one fiction. So that is it. That is the mail. I don't know what else is coming today, and I'm also not sure how much Frida and I are going to want to get off this couch, whether it comes or not. So that may be it for the mail, but this was of interest to me anyway. So I'll wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, Book 2.